Hello, and welcome to this KU Writing Center presentation. My name is Emma Kostopoulos. I'm one of the graduate coordinators at the Writing Center, and today we're going to talk about how to begin the process of tackling unfamiliar writing tasks. Today, we're going to start off by defining what we mean when we say genre in reference to writing. Then we're going to talk about the characteristics of a genre. Finally, we'll talk about how you can analyze unfamiliar genres and have an activity that will give you some practice. But first, we'll take a quick pit stop to discuss the writing process, since it's helpful to know what you're doing with writing as you're doing it. I'm sure that all of you are very familiar with graphics like the one currently up on the slide, that construct the writing process as movement, from pre-writing and invention to research to drafting to revision and beyond. What I'd like to talk about today is that this chart, while giving us a helpful understanding of the progression of ideas, displays an oversimplified version of what happens when we write. The writing process is, first of all, highly individual. Everyone writes differently. There's no one right way to brainstorm or to draft. The key is to find what practices are most effective for you. Next, the writing process is inherently nonlinear. This means that this neat little circle doesn't accurately capture the realities of writing. You could get all the way to revision and then realize that you need to expand upon a point and go back to drafting, or that there's something you didn't explore and go back to research. There should rightly be arrows all over this picture, because you can jump from any point in the writing process to any other point. The writing process is also flexible. You can spend as little or as much time on each step as is necessary for your specific project. Finally, the writing process is a social one. You don't write in a vacuum. Every time you write, you're writing for an audience of other people who you want to see the value in your writing. By including other people in your writing process through things like peer feedback, you're ensuring that your message comes out specifically tailored to the people you're writing for. So what do we mean when we say genre in writing? Google defines a genre as a category of artistic composition, as in music or literature, characterized by similarities in form, style, or subject matter. You probably have a favorite genre of music, like rock or hip-hop, or a favorite film genre, like horror or romantic comedy. But genres are more than just styles of art. Every type of writing we do, from poems to newspaper articles to research papers to even speeches like this one, is in a genre. Genres in writing are the conventions and expectations that dictate what a piece of writing should look like. For example, you know roughly how a poem should look and sound because you're familiar with the genre of a poem. And you can identify when something is a poem versus when something is a blog post because you recognize the differences between the genres. Some genres are expected in different places. For example, there are a lot of genres you'll probably be expected to write during your time in school, such as reports, proposals, reviews, and annotated bibliographies. But genre is not limited to just school writing. Every piece of writing you do, from a text message to a grocery list, exists in a genre. So, what are some of the characteristics of a genre so we can research the genres we're expected to be writing if they're unfamiliar to us? Well, genres all do certain things, and it's the ways in which they do them that bring them together to form unique types of writing. Let's talk about each in detail. First, a genre is a response to a particular situation, as is all writing. You always write to solve a problem or communicate something. And a genre arises when people realize that a particular way of writing is effective at working with a particular sort of problem or situation. For example, look at the sign on this slide. It's solving the problem of visitors to the Kansas Union needing to be directed to specific places. And we can identify it as a sign because it fits the conventions of a sign. Large, easy to read text, and the presentation of clear directions. If the directions on the sign were not clear, we could probably still identify it as a sign, but think that it was not a very good sign. Now, let's consider this genre, the Facebook post. What does a Facebook post generally intend to do? It's used as a place for people to inform others about things, like how their lives are going, or to spread information that could affect other people. So let's look at this post in particular. The situation that necessitated a response was a change in grad student health insurance. So the writer felt the need to take to Facebook and alert people that there was a new email with pertinent information for them. Facebook posts are also very interactive genres because anyone who sees it has the ability to comment. So this genre actually has a second genre attached to it, the Facebook comment, where people react to the original post. Since genres are responses to situations, writing in a genre constitutes a social action that leads to further development of the situation. These actions are social because we are always writing for an audience who we hope has the power to affect the change we're wanting to accomplish with our writing. A particularly salient example is that of the petition, and we can see an example on this slide. This is a petition written to support the legislative work of Elizabeth Warren, a Democratic politician. Notice how even though there is a lot of writing on the screen, the most important points are emboldened, so that people reading quickly can still grasp the importance of this document. This is done because most people are directed to online petitions through email, and generally people don't read mass emails carefully before making the decisions to delete them. So, how is it that we can clearly identify instances of genres, such as signs, Facebook posts, and petitions? Well, it's because the traits of a genre become solidified for us as patterns, and it's these patterns that we look for when figuring out what a piece of writing is. On the slide, we have a job ad that we can easily identify because of how it adheres to the standard pattern. This pattern dictates what is included, such as required working hours, a description of the position, and the required qualifications to apply. If the job ad were missing some of these things, it would be less effective because fewer people would apply, and if it were missing all of them, it would not be a job ad at all. As another example of the patterns of genres, take the genre of the thank you note. You probably know basically how to write a thank you note, even if you've never done it before, because of the established pattern. What does a thank you note generally include? Because genres have patterns, they also have conventions or static components that allow them to fit the expectations of the pattern. Let's look at the slide, which consists of a series of course descriptions. What are some of the conventions of a course description? Generally, a big one is having the course name, number, and who the instructor is. Another is the time in which the course is being taught. The situation of trying to persuade people to sign up for the class led to a pattern of the information being presented, which became solidified into a convention. But this doesn't mean all instances of a genre are identical, or even very similar. This is because genres are flexible and can be molded to meet the specific situation they're being written for. Consider the genre of the textbook. You probably own several of these right now, but your math textbook probably looks a lot different than your biology book, which looks different from your econ book, right? This is because teaching each of these subjects requires specific, unique things, and so the textbooks vary and flex to meet those needs. As another example, let's look at these two menus. They share some conventions, such as listing the price and dividing the menu up into different sections, but they also have differences, such as the way they've divided up the selection and the use of images. Now that we know that genres can change to fit their specific situation, it makes sense that genres also change to reflect the changing world that they exist in. As the situation genres respond to change, so do the genres themselves. Let's look at the example of the encyclopedia entry. Before the internet, encyclopedias were giant books that crammed lots of text into small spaces, and so the entries looked like the image on the left. But now that we have access to the World Wide Web, Wikipedia has given rise to a new kind of encyclopedia entry, which isn't broken up into columns, and, notably, has hyperlinks in it to link information between entries together. So, sometime during your college career, you're probably going to be asked to write in a genre you've never worked in before, or maybe one you've never even heard of. How do you tackle this task? The first step is to get a hold of several examples of the genre and read them over. Then ask yourself the questions on this slide. What do the patterns of this genre say about the situation it's responding to? How does the genre respond effectively to the problem? What actions does the genre perform, inform, persuade, etc., through its patterns? What values, beliefs, and goals are revealed through the patterns? For example, why is it assumed people want to know the prices of meals on a menu? Or why are signs in large print? What sorts of information and actions does the genre make easy to access? What sorts of things would be difficult to accomplish in this genre? And how does the genre treat its readers? Does it assume that the readers are intelligent and knowledgeable? This concludes our presentation. Thank you for watching. If you have questions or want to make an appointment at the Writing Center, visit writing.ku.edu.